after a very rainy start this morning. The weather's cleared up a little bit, and I've carried on, and I'm just passing through Market Drayton, and it's a good example of the old style roof over a loading area. Yes, and the services point there, and I'll be heading on today down through the Turley locks. There are 5 of them, and then on down, aiming to get to Shepton tonight, Talbot Wharf, and that's Ridiculous. Now, where have I seen that boat before? On the Grand Union, I think. Cheese aboard, Canal Traders. There was recently an event here, that's why I saw the wood-fired pizza oven boat and the barista coffee boat yesterday. It's Cuckoo Land. They've missed the cloud out. It's a fine old bridge there, that's been there a while. Just nice proportions. Alright, so we just putter along now. We'll leave Market Drayton behind and chug along to the Turley locks. Character. See him every time I come down here. This is the first Turley lock after we've left Market Drayton, and as you can see we're now in a cutout. That wall there is solid rock, so it's been cut out to keep the canal on as much of a level as possible. There was a little bit of a queue here. In fact, the boat I was with yesterday has just gone through this first lock, and I'm just emptying it for myself, and there they are up there going through. It's very wet down here. At least it's not raining though. It was raining heavily this morning, and there's a little roof structure there holding the stop boards for emergency use. This is Turley Top Lock. So this little cluster of buildings were built in 1837 according to that plaque there, and according to the big sign over there, it turned into a regular stopping place for working boats because there were stables here, workers' cottages, an alehouse, and well, company. So boats travelling up and down normally would stop overnight, so it was only the fly boats that went 24 hours a day. And so this is the top of the 5 locks of the Turley flight. They've been okay because the very kind people on the boat that I was travelling with yesterday were in front of me today on the Hanaloo, and they emptied the lock and left the gates open for me each time they moved up one, so I had an easy run. Just had some fun and games between locks 1 and 2 because it's a bit peculiar there. You're down in the cutting, and it's very wet today. I think it's always been muddy every time I've been through there, and for some reason there are no bollards between locks 1 and 2, so you can't secure your boat. And there's a what they call a bywash, with the water that can't go through the lock, goes around it in a little channel, and it was rushing out into the canal, and so you couldn't just leave the boat, it was pushing the bow over. And having had that difficulty, when I realised there was another single-handed boater behind me coming up, I thought the only fair thing to do would be to stay a little while, and when I got through the lock I emptied it again and opened the gates, so he didn't have to have the same battle. Right, after this we just move on, and I'll try and get some pictures as we go through Woods Eve cutting. It's a long, deep cutting, very narrow, and it can be very spectacular as well. This is the Woods Eve cutting. It's a long, narrow cutting going south from the canal, and we're just approaching High Bridge, which gives you a very clear idea of how deep the cutting is. You have to be careful along here because it's like driving down a country lane. You don't really want to meet anyone too surprising. You can see behind me there, it's long, straight, narrow, and it can be very nice coming down here. So you have to keep an eye out for boats coming the other way. So we'll see what else we can find when we get round here. There is a sign saying keep a speed down to 2 miles an hour all the way through the cutting. I'm not sure if that's because they're worried about the banks being damaged if people rush down here to get through before they meet anyone else. Big support bolts into that wall there, trying to hold it in place, so I guess maybe the whole place is a bit soft. It's very green, certainly. And down there again is the storage box for the stop boards, except there are no stop boards in there. It's a very narrow tow path along here. That's how you can get out if you're not on a boat. Going up those little wooden steps. Bridge, and you can see again a real old traditional warehouse pickup point for narrowboats, and this used to be owned by the Cadbury's chocolate company, and they would collect milk products to be taken down, I presume, down to Bourneville, which is on the canal and not too far away from here. In fact, I'll be passing Bourneville myself in a little while, to make powdered milk-based drinks, bedtime drinks, that sort of thing. So there's some kind of engineering work goes on there now. Some of it's boat related, but it's a nice old relic of when the canals were part of the lifeblood of the country. Wednesday, and a lovely day today. I've been doing various jobs this morning, so it's about coming up to quarter to midday now, and we're just passing a business based on the Bethesda narrowboat where they make cratch covers, where in fact they made my cratch cover. That looks like a nice new one being finished off there now. Hello, how do? Yep, still going. Yeah, cheers. Hope you don't mind. Yeah. And that was Tony, Tony Saunders, who runs Bethesda Covers, that's what they're called, yes. He has 2 boats there, and he does a lovely job of making those covers. Right, now we've just got 11 miles to go today. I'm heading for the village of Wheaton Aston, where I'm going to stop tomorrow and have a rest day. When I say a rest day, I mean so I can have a music lesson and do some shopping and clean up the boat and tidy away things properly. So not really a rest day. And then on Friday I'll head down to the village of Brood to meet Marianne. who's coming up on Friday. Hey. Yeah, we're on our way to Norbury Junction at the moment, and we're approaching one of the most famous bridges on the Shropshire Union Canal. And it's famous because the bridges here, a lot of them are very high because the cuttings are very deep. But this one has the extra span in it which carries a telegraph pole. It doesn't carry cables anymore, but it did at one time. And when you think about it, that's quite a neat way of getting the cables down along the canal. And there's someone coming, heading north. Got a rather cautious wave from that man. I'm sure he wondered what I was up to with this camera. Bridge 39, we just go around this bend and then it's a long straight run down to Norbury Junction. And we're just arriving now at Norbury Junction, which is a junction. Oh, somebody pulling out in front of me there. This is a very busy junction here. There's lots of boats moored permanently and there's visitor moorings. And there's a workshop to the left where you can get various things done and buy the cheapest red diesel apparently. The small print says at a boatyard because the fuel boats often do a very good deal. Let's open the throttle just a little bit. I've been here before, so we have the junction in, and over here is the wharf for the chandlery and the cafe. It's very popular with people, and tour boats leave from here. And I think that boat in front of me is pulling in for water. Oh, and there's Billy Whiz. The bridge there is, hang on, I'm going to have to stop. Right, the boat in front is pulling into the water point, but only slowly. So I've had to stop. That bridge there is why this is called a junction, because that once upon a time was the arm that went to Newport and Shrewsbury on the Welsh border. The canal closed during the Second World War, but I've just been having a quick look online and there is a Shrewsbury and Newport Canal Society actively working to restore the canal. And you can find them on sncanal.org. And after that the canal goes on straight ahead on an embankment, takes us off towards Wheaton Aston. Right, well, I got through Norbury Junction. The boat in front of me apologised as I went past for pulling out in front, but as they correctly said, they couldn't see me approaching because of the bridge, so that's alright, not a problem. And as I was saying, that the junction there, there is a society hoping to reopen the canal, but looking down the 150 yards or so of canal that's there, it's used for private mooring at the moment, and at the end there's a boatyard, a dry dock built over the canal, so if the Canal Society ever do get it open, then that dry dock will have to be demolished. But they seem to be concentrating their efforts further down the canal at the other end now. There's vast amounts of work to do to reopen one of these canals when it's been closed. I'd say this one was closed in 1944 officially, and it was already pretty neglected by then anyway. Oh yes, that's it. I don't know if you can see through the trees, they're a bit thick here, but we are quite high up. We're on the Shelmore Aqueduct embankment, and there's some lovely views across the countryside. There's woods over there, but I can't see them for the trees. This stretch along here, when I've been here before, has been very popular with fishermen, and quite often you come along and suddenly find that for a mile or more there's a fisherman every 30 yards on a specified point, and there's a fishing competition going on. Not today though, so just carry on, heading on towards the village of Nosal, spelt with a G. Here we are in the village of Nosal, just passing through the middle of the village now, and it's turned into a beautiful autumn day. Passing houses with mooring stages at the bottom of the garden, and on this side, on the right hand side there's visitor moorings. We stayed here one night last year as I was on my way up towards Chester. And just ahead there's one of the two pubs in the village, or at least there were two last year, and I popped in there last year, and the couple who ran it was their last evening in the pub, and they were just due to pass it on to someone else. I wonder if that all went off well, and hopefully the pub's still going well. It had a room with a large window that looked out over the canal just in front of the bridge in front of us here. So when I get closer I'll zoom in a little bit on it. I'm going very slowly, partly out of consideration for the moored boats, and partly because I can't film and go any faster than this in these conditions where there's lots of things to bump into if you're not careful. Yeah, there's quite a bit of mooring for visitors in the village. Our first contact with it wasn't that great, because I arrived here one evening that was in 2018, and poor old Flan went out into the woods and got chased back by a very, very nasty, vicious dog that gave him such a fright that he didn't even get off the boat for some weeks. Right, there's the pub, and there's the window, and it seems to be doing well because there's someone sitting out the window enjoying the view of the canal and holding her glass up to me. There she goes again. Well, it's nice to know the pub survived anyway. This is Coseley Tunnel very short, but it's interesting because it's hacked out of the solid rock. I think it's only 80 something yards long. But if I remember rightly, this is the one where inside you can see the marks where the steel driving poles were used to cut into the rock. I'm not exactly sure when this place was built. You can see that's very deep there. Probably won't be able to see anything inside, so I'll keep it on just in case. Oh, it's doing a fair job, isn't it? There's a lot of chemicals on the minerals from the water on the surface there inside, making it glint a bit. Boat coming. He's got his tunnel light on, but I think someone must have backed into the switch, because a boat that's just passed me said that they've had that light on for some time now. So out of here and then onwards to Wheaton Aston. I'm going to stop tomorrow and have a rest day. When I say a rest day, I mean so I can have a music lesson and do some shopping and clean up the boat and tidy away things properly. So not really a rest day. And then on Friday I'll head down to the village of Brood to meet